Darian DeVries has done it. Indiana lands the best transfer portal guard in Lamar Wilkerson.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. This is a bonus breaking news reaction episode of Locked On Hoosiers as Lamar Wilkerson, the top transfer portal guard, has committed to play for Darian DeVries and the Indiana Hoosiers. We'll talk about if the starting five starting to come together a little bit for Indiana, why Lamar Wilkerson chose Indiana, and what this means here on a bonus reaction episode. So thank you so much for being here and tuning in to another episode of Locked On Hoosiers. I've considered him the best guard in the portal. I think he's one of the best players in the portal. Lamar Wilkerson, the Sam Houston former player, the transfer portal player, has picked Indiana. He commits to the Hoosiers over the likes of Ole Miss, Auburn, and Kentucky. And I just want to say, for the people out there who claim that Indiana was a poverty program, that Indiana was a doomsday place to go, a terrible destination, nobody's going to go there, ain't no way that Darian DeVries could land Lamar Wilkerson. What do you have to say now? Lamar Wilkerson, you are an Indiana Hoosier, man. I am so excited about this addition. I think he's one of the best players in the portal. I think he's the best guard in the portal. He's one of the flat-out best scorers in college basketball from a year ago. Top 15 scorer from Sam Houston is now going to be a starting guard here in Bloomington. Just a reminder, in case you forgot what his numbers were from last year, 20.5 points per game, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, shot it at almost 48% from the floor. And this is what has everybody raving. This is what you are excited about, Indiana fans. Shot it at over 44% from behind the three-point line. Lamar Wilkerson chooses Indiana over Kentucky, Auburn, and Ole Miss. He liked Indiana so much that he told Ole Miss and Auburn to kick rocks, didn't even want to take a visit to see Bruce Pearl or Chris Beard, and he is an Indiana Hoosier. I can't express how big of a deal this is, how big of an accomplishment, how big of a first domino this is to fall for Darian DeVries. This, of course, is not the first commit for Indiana. He joins a group of Conor Enright from DePaul. He joins Tucker DeVries from West Virginia and Reed Bailey from Davidson. But this is the first big name that national people knew about. Not that they didn't know about the other guys, but this was a national recruiting battle. This was one where the biggest names, the biggest logos in the country were all going after this kid. And Indiana wins. Indiana outbids, out-recruits, out-wins, does everything they need to get Lamar Wilkerson here to Indiana. And I want to address all of that stuff here momentarily, but I do want to just express how good of a player Lamar Wilkerson is. He steps in immediately. As I've said several times here on the Locked On Hoosiers podcast, he steps in as the fourth player, technically the fifth player on the roster, thanks to Trent Sisley, your lone high school recruit coming in. He is immediately the best player on your team. Lamar Wilkerson steps in as your starting shooting guard and is the best player that Indiana has right now. And you get him for a year, and he's going to be awesome. He's going to be better than any player you had last year on the team. I don't care if it's a guard, forward, center, doesn't matter. Lamar Wilkerson's better than Indiana had all of last year, possibly in the last 2 years here in Bloomington. That's how good Lamar Wilkerson is. He can get to the rim. He can create his own shot. He is also able to dish it out to his teammates, and he is just a flat-out baller. Mark Pope in Kentucky wanted this guy bad. They thought they had him. Bruce Pearl in Auburn wanted him. They thought they had him. Chris Beard at Ole Miss wanted him. I don't know if they thought they had him, but everybody wanted a piece of Lamar Wilkerson, and he's coming right here to the Indiana Hoosiers. And this is, as I've been saying, the first real victory for Darian DeVries as the head coach of Indiana. This was his opportunity to kind of bring Indiana back a little bit in the national spotlight, in the national landscape of, wow, big player just went to Indiana. That's big time stuff. People outside of this state, outside of the Big Ten, just realized and just took notice that Indiana's back on the map, that Darian DeVries means business. Will it lead to wins on the floor? Who knows? We're going to have to wait and see. But you go and get somebody like Lamar Wilkerson and you beat out Kentucky and you beat out Auburn to do it. That's a statement. And Darian DeVries has made a statement. And here's what's fascinating is some of the quotes that Wilkerson gave when he was on with the Field of 68 after he made his commitment. Here, listen to this quote right here. He says, quote, from Lamar Wilkerson, "It was a hard decision, but Indiana just felt like home. I'm ready to bring Hoosier basketball back." Listen to that. I'm ready to bring Hoosier basketball back. And I think he's good enough to do it. I think he's one that you bring him in, and he's that type of guy that we talk about from the transfer portal as an instant impact player. He's an IIP. He's an IP, right? Instant impact player. He will be that immediately, and he will be the best player on the floor. He'll be one of the best players in the Big Ten, and you're going to see that all over the place from day one here in Bloomington. And Indiana wins the recruiting battle, their first big win in the transfer portal, and they do it by taking down Mark Pope in Kentucky, a Sweet 16 team, and Bruce Pearl and Auburn, a Final Four team. That's a pretty big deal if you ask me. But why did he choose Indiana other than the fact that he felt like it was home and he wants to bring Hoosier basketball back? We'll talk about that because Indiana paid for it. There's no doubt. But it's not all about the money like people say. That's coming up. Plus, it's the starting five starting to come together. I think it is. More on that here on this reaction episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Today's bonus episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena, and with Game Time, you can be a part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, which is crazy to think about. And their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. And that's why I use Game Time. When I'm going to concerts or music or theater or anything like that, saving up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets on Game Time, that's why I go there. I don't have any other ticketing app. I deleted all of them because Game Time is the only one you need. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Today's bonus episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where the heck did all my money go? Between dining out and online shopping and all that entertainment we like to do, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building a little bit of wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on just eating out in general. It stacks up $8 here, $12 there, $15 over here. It all adds up in a month's time. Monarch is able to help me budget, and I'm saving more than ever before. Take control of your finances right now with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege, and they're going to give you half off of your first year. All right, welcome back into this bonus reaction episode of Locked On Hoosiers as Indiana and head coach Darian DeVries for Indiana basketball land the best player in the portal, in my opinion, best guard by far, in Lamar Wilkerson. And I've seen a lot of this smoke already, and it's from upset fans, from butthurt Kentucky fans and Auburn fans and Ole Miss people who said, oh, well, Lamar Wilkerson is going to Indiana because it's all about the money. But what would they have said if he had picked Kentucky? What if he was going to Big Blue Nation? What if he was going to Lexington? What if he was going to Auburn? What if he was going to Oxford, Mississippi? Would they be saying the same thing? No, it's because they're butthurt, and it's because they lost in a big time recruiting battle. And I hate to say it, but it's just true. It's this era that we're in where you cheer for a recruit or a transfer portal guy and you hype him up and you want him to come to your school and you're going to love him so much and he's going to be a member of the Hoosier family or the Kentucky family or the Auburn family. But as soon as he goes somewhere else, it's a big old middle finger and, well, we didn't want you anyway. Oh, you weren't good enough to play here anyway. You're just chasing the money. Give me a break. You wanted this guy. Indiana fans wanted Lamar Wilkerson. Kentucky fans wanted Lamar Wilkerson. Auburn fans wanted Lamar Wilkerson. And he chose Indiana. And by no means, let me go ahead and make this very clear. By no means am I saying that Indiana didn't pay to have this kid. Money is about a lot of it right now. I'm not saying it's everything, but money is a lot of it. And whether Indiana outbid other people for him, or they just flat out recruited for him, or maybe he just liked Indiana better than Kentucky. What a crazy idea that is. Maybe he just liked this place better than the other. It's not that big of a deal, and it's not that crazy of an idea. Do you know how many times Indiana has lost out on recruits because they just wanted to go somewhere else? It's not that crazy of an idea. And so for Kentucky fans and other fans around the country who are just saying, well, he's just chasing the money. We didn't want him anyway. Good luck. You must live a miserable life is all I'm saying, because let the kid do what he wants to do. But I am quoted on this show, and I'm going to bring it back up as saying, if that's what it took for Darian DeVries, if you had to spend a little bit more money to go get a guy like this, I said it was worth it. And I still believe that's true before he plays a single second in an Indiana Hoosier uniform, because he's the best guard in the portal. I'm convinced of that. And he is now going to be in your starting five, which I think has coming together very, very nicely. You're going to have Conor Enright as of right now with the 4 additions you've made through the transfer portal. I think Conor Enright is your point guard. I think Lamar Wilkerson is your scoring shooting guard. He's going to be your go-to guy as a shooting guard. You then have Tucker DeVries, who is now the second best shooter on the team since Lamar Wilkerson joined. You put him at the 3. And you've got Reed Bailey, the transfer from Davidson, who's 6'10", who's an electric scorer and can kind of do it all. He's going to be your 4, which means you're still looking for your starting 5, and then you're looking for guys off the bench. But man, we've talked about so many different players from Texas Tech and Overton. We talked about him on the full episode today. Guys like that can start to plug some of these holes, and you're going to start seeing some more names join this Indiana squad, I think, fairly quickly, because somebody like Lamar Wilkerson doesn't just commit and nothing else happen. It's the first big domino to fall. And Darian DeVries should be proud. Indiana should be proud. You should be excited about Lamar Wilkerson being an Indiana Hoosier, not just because of the scoring, but because of what he's going to bring along with him. Players want to play with guys like him. When you start building a good roster, others want to be involved. Others want a piece of what's happening. And now everybody's starting to turn their heads a little bit and say, what's going on in Bloomington? Is that Darian DeVries? They just hired a new coach, right? What's going on over there? Maybe I should go check that out. You land somebody like Lamar Wilkerson, that starts to happen. And so fans can be upset outside of here that he didn't go to your school. By all means, be upset. But he's an Indiana Hoosier one way or the other. And this starting 5 starting to come together. And so is this transfer portal class for new head coach Darian DeVries. And man, it's so much fun talking about all of this. And this has been a bonus episode for you of Locked On Hoosiers. We have full episodes Monday through Friday, every single weekday, 25, 30 minutes that you can check out all things Indiana athletics. So be sure, if you're listening on audio, watching on YouTube with the video, however you have found us, follow us, subscribe to us, share it with your family and friends as Lamar Wilkerson commits to Indiana. And this has been a bonus episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Okay, thank you so much for being here. We are back tomorrow for a full episode, a normal episode early in the morning. It'll be posted for you. However you found it here, you're going to be able to find it there tomorrow as well. Okay, back tomorrow, Indiana fans. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.